He got himself in great shape this year, and he's played great football, and he'll have the option to do whatever he wants to do after the season.
Following a disappointing 2025 season where the Kansas City Chiefs missed the playoffs for the first time since 2014, Travis Kelce is officially done. He's reportedly signed elsewhere, and now his close friend Patrick Mahomes is speaking up. So, what exactly happened? Let's break it down. The season that changed everything. The 2025 NFL season ended without a playoff berth for the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time since 2014. That alone was a shock to the system. A franchise that had spent over a decade as the standard for consistency in the AFC suddenly found itself watching the postseason from the outside. And in the middle of all of that, two of the biggest names in football faced their own crossroads. Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL in Week 15. Travis Kelce was staring down the end of his contract, and nobody knew what either of them was going to do next.
For the first time since 2014, the Chiefs are eliminated from the postseason, which is an outrageous stat.
That clip says it all. Over a decade of postseason football gone. And the two men most responsible for keeping that streak alive were both suddenly in uncertain territory. Mahomes was in surgery, and Kelsey was sitting with a question he had been avoiding all season.
He's heading into his 14th season. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer, we think.
The Pat McAfee Show was already framing it as a legacy conversation. First ballot Hall of Famer, 14 seasons. And now, what? Does he walk away on a down year with a torn-up quarterback and a team that missed the playoffs? Or does he come back and try to fix it? That was the question hanging over Kansas City from the moment the season ended.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty short and brief, and the Chiefs knew where I was the entire time on it.
Kelsey said the deliberation was short. He said the Chiefs knew where he was, but what he did not say, at least not right away, was exactly what that position was or when he made up his mind. And that gap between the end of the season and the moment he finally made it official is where the real story lives.
What point did you know for sure you were coming back?
About midway through the season.
Midway through the season, Kelsey had already made up his mind before the Chiefs were even eliminated, before Mahomes went down, before the offseason roster moves. He knew, but he did not rush it. He let the dust settle. He let the emotions clear, and he waited until he could say, with full certainty, that he was coming back for the right reasons, not just because the season ended badly and he wanted a do-over.
So what were you waiting on then?
You know, I think I was taking Jason Kelsey's advice. I was taking the advice to take a step back because you got to let the emotions clear.
Jason Kelce, the older brother who had just gone through his own retirement process, told Travis to pump the brakes. Do not make the decision in the heat of the moment. Let the frustration drain out and see what is left. And what was left, once the frustration cleared, was hunger.
It still felt like I was hungry enough to get back at it, and obviously there's still a little bit of that grit and that emotion that, you know, I fucking hated the way that ended last year, and I want to do this. I want to make it right.
That is the clearest Kelsey had been about his mindset going into the decision. He hated how the season ended. He was not done. And once he sat with that feeling long enough to trust it, the decision was made. The Chiefs finished 2025 with a 6-11 record, their worst since 2012. That number mattered to Kelsey. He had never finished a season that far below 500, and the unfamiliarity of it sharpened something in him that a normal off-season reflection process never could have. Kelsey had also made clear in November 2025 that he would inform the Chiefs of his plans well before free agency began, a self-imposed deadline designed to give the front office maximum flexibility in their roster and cap planning. That level of consideration for the organization, even during his own uncertainty, said everything about how he viewed his place in Kansas City. By late February, active negotiations between the Chiefs and Kelsey's camp were underway. The two sides came to an agreement in principle on March 9th, 2026, just days after the negotiating window formally opened. And on March 23rd, Travis Kelce sat down at a table inside the Chiefs headquarters and signed his name on a new deal. What happened in that room on March 23rd is where this story truly gets interesting. And it starts with a phone call nobody outside the building saw coming. The FaceTime call heard around Kansas City. The signing ceremony for Travis Kelce's new deal took place on March 23, 2026, inside the Chiefs team headquarters at 1 Arrowhead Drive. The room had been prepared the night before. Red tablecloth, a black leather portfolio with the team logo, official NFL contract documents, 2 pens, 1 red, 1 black. The New Heights production crew was already set up with cameras. Chiefs media staff had their own rigs in place. Everything was staged to capture the moment cleanly. And then, right in the middle of it, Patrick Mahomes called.
What's up, 1-5? Patricio. Let's go, baby. Home sweet home, you know what I'm saying?
Home sweet home. Look at the beard, too, man. The man's ready to go.
Kelsey's reaction when he saw Mahomes' face on that screen was the whole story in 5 seconds. Pure joy. Genuine surprise, even though some of the logistics had been arranged in advance. You cannot fake that kind of energy. The FaceTime call came in at 11:05 a.m., precisely 1 minute and 47 seconds after Kelsey had begun signing, while he was still in the middle of initialing page 3 of the contract. The phone was handed to him by Chiefs Director of Player Engagement, David Toms, who had been standing just outside the camera frame, waiting for the cue. And Mahomes was calling from his home office in Kansas City, still rehabbing his torn ACL, because he could not be there in person.
All right, dog. You already know, dog.
That line, "I thought you got something to do," is Mahomes telling Kelsey to stop celebrating and finish signing the papers. Classic. The quarterback rehabbing a torn ACL, calling his tight end mid-signature to congratulate him, and then immediately telling him to get back to work.
Hope the rehab's going good, baby.
And then Kelsey flipped it. In the middle of his own signing ceremony, he checked in on Mahomes' knee. That exchange, those few seconds, captures exactly what this partnership is built on. It is not transactional. It is not just two teammates who work together. These two genuinely care about each other. The call lasted just over 25 seconds. The edited 47-second highlight reel, pulling from multiple camera angles, was posted simultaneously by the Chiefs' official Instagram and the New Heights X account at 11:12 a.m., 6 minutes after the call ended. It spread immediately, but the reason the moment hit so hard is not just because the optics were good, it is because the context behind it was real. The Chiefs and New Heights production crew had coordinated the entire setup the evening before through a shared communication channel. The plan was to let Kelsey complete roughly half the signatures on camera before inserting the call at the precise emotional beat, maximizing the viral moment without disrupting the legal formality of the signing itself. Mahomes had insisted the call be live, not pre-recorded, specifically because he wanted it to feel authentic, given that his ACL rehab prevented him from being in the room. He did not want a polished video message. He wanted to actually be there, even if the only way to do that was through a phone screen. The contract itself was structured as a 3-year, $54.7 million deal, with a maximum of $57.7 million including incentives, though the 2 years beyond 2026 functioned as void years, with a $40 million poison pill guarantee tied to the 2028 season that would kick in automatically if Kelsey remained on the roster past June 8, 2027. In practice, this was a 1-year deal structured creatively to give the Chiefs cap relief while giving Kelsey financial security and a clear exit ramp if 2026 turned out to be his last ride. The initial framework before the March 23 restructure was a straightforward 1-year deal worth $12 million fully guaranteed, with an additional $3 million in performance incentives available. The creative multi-year engineering that followed was designed to drop Kelsey's 2026 cap hit to approximately $4.9 million, critical for a Chiefs team that had entered the offseason nearly $60 million over the salary cap limit. The paperwork was built to protect both sides. The FaceTime call was built to remind everyone why they were doing this in the first place. To understand why that call carried the weight it did, you have to go back to where the whole thing started, a late night in 2018 and a shared laugh the morning after. Brothers before business. Patrick Mahomes arrived in Kansas City in 2017. He was a rookie quarterback still finding his footing, and Travis Kelce was already a veteran, established, respected, already one of the best tight ends in football. The friendship did not start with a highlight reel moment or a viral clip. It started with a late night and a shared laugh the morning after. Mahomes has told this story before on the New Heights podcast. After the 4th preseason game, a group of rookies, including Mahomes, went out to blow off steam. Mahomes set multiple alarms to make sure he made it to practice on time. When he showed up, he saw Kelsey already there, clearly having been out late himself. Instead of hazing or tension, the two just laughed about it. And from that point forward, they were on the same wavelength. That is not a story about two superstars connecting over championships. That is a story about two competitive guys who also love to enjoy life, recognizing themselves in each other. It is mundane in the best possible way, and it explains everything that came after. The friendship deepened through the years in ways that went far beyond football. Kelsey was a groomsman at Mahomes' wedding in 2022. Their families became intertwined to the point that Mahomes has described them as almost one family. In March 2024, they jointly launched a Kansas City steakhouse called 1587 Prime, named after their jersey numbers, 15 for Mahomes and 87 for Kelsey, a restaurant. Together, together, in the city they both call home. Mahomes has publicly described Kelsey as a guy who has really kind of made me who I am in my career, language that goes well beyond standard teammate appreciation. That framing matters. It means the decision to keep Kelsey in Kansas City was never purely about production numbers or scheme fit. It was about protecting something foundational. And then there was the on-field dimension, which is where the friendship became something else entirely. The two built a connection over years of shared film study, scramble drills, and real-time adjustments that no defensive coordinator could fully diagram. Mahomes could extend a play for 4 seconds past the point of disaster, and Kelsey would find the soft spot in the zone every single time. Not because they ran a drill for it, because they had been doing it together long enough that it became instinct.
I knew that Pat was going to be Pat, and he's going to work his tail off to get back and be at his best. I knew that was a no-brainer.
That level of certainty, I knew that was a no-brainer, does not come from a scouting report. That comes from 8 years of watching the same man show up over and over in every moment that mattered. And when Mahomes went down in week 15, Kelsey did not panic. He did not start calculating whether coming back still made sense. He kept playing. He kept showing up, even in games that had no playoff implications. Games where Kelsey was potentially risking his entire offseason. He played every snap because that is who he is.
Obviously, it came out that the surgery went well, and I mean, he's a warrior, man. I'm telling you, this guy's played through everything, battled through everything.
That is Kelsey talking about Mahomes after the ACL tear, not as a teammate giving a press conference answer, as a brother talking about someone he trusts completely. Mahomes reciprocated. He called Kelsey within 48 hours of surgery, a conversation that was described in subsequent reporting as raw and deeply personal. Mahomes expressed gratitude for everything Kelsey had meant to him on the field. Kelsey talked through his own frustrations about the season, and the two of them, without making anything formal, reached an understanding that they were not done. 3 Super Bowl victories across the 2019, 2022, and 2023 seasons were built on this exact foundation. Kelsey as the immovable constant in a system that Mahomes could bend and stretch in every direction. Defensive coordinators could scheme around every other piece. They could not scheme around the two of them reading the same key at the same instant on a broken play. That phone call after the surgery was the real beginning of the 2026 season. The one at the signing ceremony on March 23rd was the confirmation. But what Mahomes did between those two moments, quietly, deliberately, and almost entirely out of public view, is what actually brought Kelsey back to Kansas City. The quiet work of a quarterback. What Patrick Mahomes did during the months between his surgery and Kelsey's signing is one of the most revealing chapters of his career, not as a quarterback, but as a leader. Mahomes tore his ACL on December 14, 2025, in a game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Surgery followed the very next day, performed by Dr. Dan Cooper in Dallas, addressing both the ACL tear and a lateral collateral ligament avulsion, where the ligament pulled off the bone at the fibula. The Chiefs moved fast because the LCL component required early reattachment to optimize healing. The prognosis was clean. No artery damage, no nerve damage, no meniscal involvement. Chiefs VP of Sports Medicine Rick Burkholder described everything in the injury as fixable and correctable. The projected timeline was 9 months, which put a potential return right at the start of the 2026 season. And Mahomes attacked that timeline the way he attacks a 3rd and long. By February and March 2026, reports had him putting in up to 7 hours of structured rehab daily and hitting milestones ahead of schedule. He was doing position-specific work, dropbacks, throwing under load, mobility drills. While most quarterbacks at that stage of recovery are still working on basic range of motion, early rehab phases focused on reducing swelling, restoring muscle activation, and protected weight bearing in a brace. By early January 2026, just 3 weeks post-surgery, Andy Reid was already reporting steady progress publicly. The speed of those early milestones set the tone for everything that followed and sent a message to every veteran in the building about what was expected of them.
Yeah, I mean, every season that I've had with him these last few years, I try to cherish because you never know.
Mahomes said that during the 2025 season, before the injury, before the playoff elimination, before any of this became a crisis, he was already operating with that sense of urgency, that awareness that time with the people who made you who you are does not last forever. And when the injury came and the season ended and Kelsey's future was suddenly an open question, Mahomes leaned into that urgency in a completely different way. He did not call a team meeting. He did not make a public statement. He worked the phone quietly, personally, specifically specifically. There were multiple documented conversations between Mahomes and Kelsey in December 2025, each lasting 15 to 25 minutes. A three-way video call with Kelsey and Chris Jones. An in-person gathering at Mahomes' home in late January 2026. Not press conferences, not Instagram posts, actual conversations. The message in all of them was the same. We did not finish what we started. We have a chance to fix it, and I am going to be ready.
Talking to Pat, talking to Coach Reed and the guys, there's a lot of dog mentality right now to get this thing fixed.
Kelsey used the word dog mentality to describe the energy inside the building, and a significant part of where that energy came from was watching Mahomes refuse to treat a torn ACL as a pause button. Every rehab milestone Mahomes hit was a message to the rest of the team and to Kelsey specifically that the standard had not changed. Mahomes also restructured his own contract in 2026, converting over $54 million of his salary into a signing bonus, which dropped his cap hit dramatically and opened tens of millions in space for the Chiefs to work with. That move directly created the financial breathing room that allowed the Chiefs to make Kelsey a competitive offer and still pursue other pieces in free agency. He did not just call Kelsey, he paid for Kelsey to have a reason to come back.
So the addition of Kenneth Walker and Patrick Mahomes' rehabilitation had nothing to do with it?
No.
Kelsey was almost theatrical about separating his decision from the roster moves and the rehab timeline. He kept saying it was about the game, about the love, about the people in the building. And that is true, but it is also true that those things are inseparable from Mahomes. The love for the game, the people in the building, the belief that the team can get back to where it belongs, all of it runs through the quarterback wearing number 15. This pattern of Mahomes using his own contract as a tool for the team was not new. He had been restructuring deals since 2020 when his historic 10-year, $450 million extension was built team-friendly by design. Year after year, he converted base salaries into signing bonuses to spread cap charges and create space for the front office to keep the core group together. The 2026 restructure was simply the latest installment of a philosophy he had been executing for half a decade. The phone calls and the contract restructure were the mechanics. But underneath all of it was something that had been building since 2018, a life that both men had built together in Kansas City, far beyond the football field. More than a football decision. The contract Travis Kelce signed on March 23, 2026 was not just a football decision. It was the product of everything that had been built over 8 years, on the field, off the field, in hospital rooms, in late-night phone calls, and in a Kansas City steakhouse named after 2 jersey numbers. Kelce's 2025 season numbers, 76 receptions, 851 yards, 5 touchdowns, still led the team in every receiving category despite the Chiefs finishing 6-11 and missing the playoffs. He was 36 years old and still the most reliable weapon on the roster. His snap count had been scaled back from the 85 to 90% of his prime years down to roughly 70 to 75%, but his catch rate and impact in critical moments had not dropped off. He had simply evolved from the guy who ran every route on every down to the veteran who showed up exactly when the offense needed him most.
And I still feel like I could play it at a high level, and possibly at a higher level than I did last year. I don't think it was my best outing.
That is the part that matters. Kelsey was not coming back to extend a career on fumes. He was coming back because he genuinely believed he had not played his best football in 2025. And the idea of finishing on that note was something he could not accept.
I want to give it a good run. I got a bad taste in my mouth on how I ended the year, and
a bad taste. That is the cleanest summary of why Travis Kelce came back for a 14th season. Not money, not legacy calculations, not external pressure. A bad taste. And surrounding that decision was a personal life that had quietly become another reason to stay in Kansas City. Kelsey's engagement to Taylor Swift in August 2025 and their planned wedding, reportedly set for June 13, 2026, timed between the Chiefs' mandatory minicamp and the start of training camp, meant his personal world was anchoring itself to Kansas City in a permanent way. The city was not just where he played football anymore. It was home in every sense of the word. Brittany Mahomes expressed public excitement about Kelsey's return when the signing was announced in March 2026. Kelsey responded by nicknaming her HOF Brit in reference to her University of Texas at Tyler Athletics Hall of Fame induction that same month. Two families, intertwined, celebrating each other's milestones in the same week that one of them signed a new NFL contract. The Mahomes and Kelsey families had become so entangled in Kansas City life that their shared social world, community events, foundation work, the 1587 Prime Steakhouse, mutual friendships, created a web of incentives for continued alignment that no rival team's contract offer could fully replicate. Leaving Kansas City would not just mean changing franchises, it would mean dismantling a life.
And I love so many people in Kansas City, both in that facility, in the community, and it's home for me now. And I don't want to leave that life yet.
That right there is the full picture, not a football decision, a life decision. Football just happened to be the vehicle. Multiple teams reportedly made offers during the negotiating window that exceeded what the Chiefs put on the table: more guaranteed cash, higher average annual value. Kelsey turned them down. He did not test the market. He did not let it drag into March. He told the Chiefs where he was, let them build their offer, and signed.
I think my best opportunity was playing for the Chiefs yet again and running this thing back with Pat Mahomes and Coach Reed.
Running it back with Mahomes, with Reed, with Eric Bieniemy returning as offensive coordinator, with the chip that comes from missing the playoffs and watching the rest of the AFC talk about how the dynasty is over.
We're seeing what the world's doing right now. We're seeing how everybody's reacting. But we know we got the nucleus in Kansas City.
The nucleus. That word choice is deliberate. Kelsey knows exactly what the Chiefs have at the center of everything. And it is not a scheme, not a front office move, not a free agent signing. It is the relationship between a quarterback and a tight end who have been doing this together since a late night in 2018, when they were just two guys who loved competing and loved their lives in equal measure. By the end of the 2025 season, Kelsey's career totals stood at 1,080 receptions for 13,002 yards and 82 touchdowns across 192 games, numbers that already secured his place as the greatest tight end in NFL history. Coming back for year 14 was not about padding the stat line. It was about finishing the story the right way in the right city with the right people. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.